Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So today we bring our monthly theme to a close. I can't believe we've gone through, in fact, in just 6 months, it's Christmas, right? We're halfway, almost through the end, and somebody very important's birthday. But
27 weekends.
right, it's pretty amazing.
Oh, Jesus too.
Well, yeah. This is true. So our theme this month has been minding the mind, and we looked at the topic. Today we're going to look at the topic, if you don't mind, it doesn't matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. So does anyone care to guess the source of where that title came from? Anybody have any ideas where that title might have come
Something
from?
from Walt Disney.
No. Okay. That's a good guess, knowing me, but no.
Is it the same person that said, what you think about me is none of my business kind of thing?
No, but she probably got that from this. No, we're going kind of way back, and then not so way back. But Mark Twain actually said, age is a matter of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. And later, Jack Benny simplified it by saying our theme today, if you don't mind, it doesn't matter. So it's been tossed around a little bit. And while this might seem a rather shallow statement, there's actually some deep wisdom in it. And so we're going to get into that today and find it. So our minds can be quite mischievous imps, can they not? Yes. And because of that, a lot of things, and I'm saying a lot of things, can really, really matter to us. Anybody know what I mean by that? Yeah. We can get so worked up about things that take on proportions that are much greater than they really need to be. Our minds can conjure up negative or wasteful thoughts from simple situations and convince us to react rather than respond. They can very easily make mountains out of molehills, as the saying goes, and they readily make small things big and medium-sized things gigantic. We can do a great job of awfulizing. That's my word, awfulizing. And a lot of judging. We do a lot of judging. Remember, nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. That's huge when you really wrap your mind around it. Mark Twain once said, I have been through some terrible things in my life, some of which actually happened. The rest of which only happened in his mind, so what? It mattered. It happened in his mind, so it mattered. In other words, our minds can be very, very unruly. And you know what I'm talking about, and that was what Suzanne was talking about in her reading today. In Huston Smith's book, World Religions, he gives a pretty apt description of what the mind often does. In this context, he is discussing the practices of the Hindu religion, particularly meditation. But see if it doesn't apply perfectly to what I just said. So he writes, the motions of the average mind, say the Hindus, are about as orderly as those of a crazed monkey cavorting about his cage. Nay, more like the prancing of a drunk, crazy monkey. Even so, we have not conveyed its restlessness. The mind is like a drunken, crazed monkey who has St. Vitus dance, which is a physical disorder characterized by rapid, uncoordinated, jerking movements. To do justice to our theme, however, we must go a final step. The mind is like a drunken, crazed monkey with St. Vitus dance who has just been stung by a wasp. Few who have seriously tried to meditate will find this metaphor extreme. The trouble with the advice to leave your mind alone is the unimpressive spectacle that remains. I tell my hand to rise, and it obeys. I tell my mind to be still, and it mocks my command. How long can the average mind think about one thing only, without slipping first into thinking about that thing and taking off from there on a senseless chain of irrelevancies? About 3.5 seconds, psychologists tell us. Like a ping pong ball, the mind will alight where its owner directs it, but only to take off immediately on a jittery flight of staccato bounces that are completely out of hand. What if the mind could be turned from a ping pong ball into a lump of dough, which when thrown sticks to a wall until deliberately removed? Would not its power increase if it could be held in focus? Would not its strength be compounded like the strength of a light bulb ringed by reflectors? And now quoting from the Upanishad, Smith says, when all senses are stilled, when the mind is at rest, when the intellect wavers not, that, say the wise, is the highest state. And that entire piece by Smith was about meditation, which of course is so powerful. And it's such a powerful tool for strengthening the mind. But let me give you another one that you can do in the moment. It's the power of a focusing question. Great, great power. So when your mind becomes overwhelmed with something you are minding, often it comes with not enough thoughts, such as not enough money or time or love or friends or opportunities, or it could be annoyances or anger, etc., maybe impatience in there. Once you notice this, because you are standing guard at the portals of your mind, you ask yourself a specific refocusing question. And the question is this: what would I love here? What would I love here? Now, not in a fantasy way, such as, I would love for this person to quit being a jerk, so just do as I like. Or I would love this big bill that I received to just go away. But given what the facts are right here and now, what would I love now? What would I love now? It's really simple, but it's so very powerful, because your mind goes on a search for what you would love right there in your given situation, whatever it is. Whatever it is. It goes looking for it. So when my father, who is 91, is on one of his little rants and kind of a little bit maybe tending towards a negative rant there, I can ask myself, instead of getting frustrated or impatient, what would I love here? I would love for a moment with my father to maybe reminisce about something in his childhood or his young adulthood, or some words of wisdom. And it's amazing. The moment I stare at him, we take a whole nother direction, and it's wonderful. It truly is such a powerful, powerful thing, instead of going down that rabbit hole with them. Don't go with them. What would I love here? So Holmes tells us in The Science of Mind, one of the most important things for us to remember is that we are always causing something to be created for us, and that whatever cause we have set in motion must produce some kind of effect. It must produce some kind of effect. Let me give you an example of the power of a focused question, and this one not actually in the direction one would want. And this was told by Reverend Michael Beckwith of the Agape International Spiritual Center in Los Angeles. And this is an experience that he once had. He says that on his drive to church each morning, he would regularly pass a homeless man on the corner. Reverend Michael would stop and give him food and water, etc., and he would speak with him. He soon discovered that this man was smart, he was articulate, and he was sharp. So Reverend Michael then started asking himself a very powerful focusing question. How does someone like that, smart, articulate, and sharp, end up homeless and on the streets? How does that happen? Not too long after he posed that question to his mind, several times he received a big envelope in the mail from the IRS with a tax bill of many, many, many thousands of dollars. What was the question he asked? How does that happen to someone who's sharp and smart and articulate? Oh, he said, that's how something like that can happen. I think we need to watch the kinds of questions I ask my mind to find the answers to. Yes, that is very, very true, because we are very powerful and creative beings. And an answer the mind goes searching for, it will find. It will find. An empowering question that sets in motion an effect that is in harmony with goodness, life, and love is, what would I love here? What would I love here? So here's the deal. Unless we create clear boundaries for the mind and train it to stay within those limits, it's going to continue to waver and create disturbance and confusion. If we allow 1,000 trifling things to overtake our mind, we will constantly be upset, aggravated, and unhappy. But if we decide not to give something trivial our attention, then it will cease to bother us. In fact, we probably won't even notice that it's there. We need to conquer the mind, not the situation. Situations will come and go, but if we realize that it just doesn't really matter, then we can let it go. There was an article years ago in the Sunday paper, and I'm talking like 10, 11 years ago, and it was about Clint Eastwood as a director. And it said, Eastwood lives in the moment, seemingly undaunted by any setback, and can turn any situation into the positive. He embraces everything. An actor on the set of Flags of Our Father says, recalling the day when 500 extras and a complement of fighting vehicles were confronted with rain. The director moved cameras to another location to shoot a dream sequence. The rain let up in a few hours and we went back and continued on. I mean, nothing's a problem with him. There's always an opportunity. We know people like that, don't we? It's like they just turn it around. It's like, oh, well, we can't do that. We'll just do this then. Earl Nightingale created a program years ago called The Magic Word. The whole program was designed to help you discover what the magic word was. When you discovered what it was, you had power. Finally, after a series of activities and exercises, you discovered the magic word. And lucky for you guys this morning, you don't have to go through all of that because I'm just going to tell you what the magic word is. And does anybody know what it is?
Please.
The magic word. Please and thank you. Well, those are magic words. Well, that's a good one too.
I was going to say.
It's attitude.
Oh.
Attitude. Attitude is the magic word. He told his participants that when they finally understood the power of their attitude, they would understand the power that they could wield. Today, let's recognize that we hold the magic word, and it really is the authority and power with which we see things. It's the way in which we create our lives, our attitude. Let us choose carefully, for in that is the power of the day. So, let me illustrate that point. And I've shared this story before, so some of you may have heard it, but it is worth repeating. So, listen to this article entitled, Attitude is Everything. This is by Francie Bellator Swartz. So Jerry was the kind of guy you love to hate. He was always in a good mood and always had something positive to say. When someone would ask him how he was doing, he would reply, if I were any better, I'd be twins. Jerry was the manager in a restaurant business, and a unique thing happened with him. He had waiters following him around from restaurant to restaurant. Why? Because of his attitude. He was a natural motivator. If an employee was having a bad day, Jerry was there to tell the employee how to look on the positive side of the situation. Seeing this style really made me curious, so I asked him one day, I don't get it. You can't be a positive person all of the time. How do you do it? Jerry replied, each morning I wake up and say to myself, Jerry, you have two choices today. You can choose to be in a good mood or you can choose to be in a bad mood. I choose to be in a good mood. Each time something bad happens, I can choose to be a victim or I can choose to learn from it. I choose to learn from it. Every time someone comes to me complaining, I can choose to accept their complaining or I can point out the positive side. I choose the positive side of life. Yeah, right, it's not that easy, I protested. Yes, it is, Jerry said. Life is all about choices. When you cut away all the junk, every situation is a choice. You choose how to react to situations. You choose how people will affect your mood. You choose to be in a good mood or a bad mood. The bottom line is, it's your choice how you live your life. Soon after that conversation, I left the restaurant industry to start my own business. Jerry and I lost touch, but I often thought about him when I made a choice about life instead of just reacting to it. Several years later, I heard that Jerry did something you are never supposed to do. He left the back door of the restaurant open one morning. As a result, 3 armed robbers held him up at gunpoint. While trying to open the safe, his hand shaking from nervousness, he slipped off the combination. One of the robbers panicked and shot him. Jerry was found relatively quickly and rushed to the local trauma center. After 18 hours of surgery and weeks in intensive care, Jerry was released from the hospital with fragments of the bullet still in his body. I saw Jerry about 6 months after the accident. When I asked him how he was, he replied, if I were any better, I'd be twins. Want to see my scars? I declined to see his wounds, but did ask him what had gone through his mind as the robbery took place. The first thing that went through my mind was that I should have locked the back door, he replied. Then, as I lay on the floor bleeding, I remembered that I had 2 choices. I could choose to live or I could choose to die. I chose to live. Weren't you scared? I asked. Jerry said, Not at first. The paramedics were great. They kept telling me I was going to be fine. But when they wheeled me into the emergency room, I saw the expressions on the face of the doctors and nurses. And then I got scared. In their eyes, I read, he's a dead man. I knew I needed to take action. What did you do? I asked. Well, there was a big burly nurse shouting questions at me. She asked if I was allergic to anything. Yes, I replied. The doctors and nurses stopped working as they waited for my reply. I took a deep breath and yelled, bullets. Over their laughter, I told them, I'm choosing to live. Operate on me as if I'm alive, not dead. Jerry lived thanks to the skills of his doctors, but also because of his amazing attitude. I learned from him that every day we have a choice to live fully. Attitude, after all, is everything. Choice is all there is. So Ernest Holmes tells us, prepare your mind to receive the best that life has to offer. Ooh, how does that feel? Prepare your mind to receive the best that life has to offer. Prepare your mind by minding it. Decide to let go of things that don't really matter. Draw clear boundaries for your mind. As a master, choose what you prefer to focus your attention on and stay there by asking, what would I love here? What would I love here? And remember, if you don't mind, then it really doesn't matter. And so it is.
I think your computer's